Hey guys, I have an interesting video for you today about an important Polish figure who is almost unknown outside of Poland. I've had some great conversations about the subject recently. This video is about if World War II could have been avoided. Władysław Studnicki was a Polish journalist and politician, one of the founding fathers of the Second Republic. He was a Germanophile. He advocated for a better relationship with the Germans in the 1930s. All his books were banned in communist Poland. This is his story. Studnicki was born on November 15, 1967, in Daugavpils in what was then the Russian Empire and what was once the capital of Polish-Lithuanian Livonia. His family was Polish nobility. Both his parents had fought in the January Uprising of 1863, one of several Polish uprisings against Russian rule during the partition. He attended the Leopold Kronenberg School of Economics and became one of the founders of the Second Proletariat. The aim of the organization was to fight for the rights of workers, to nationalize the means of production, and, in the longer term, to create a workers' state. In the same year, he was exiled to eastern Siberia by Tsarist authorities, where he would spend 8 years. In Siberia, Studnicki strengthened himself, read a lot, wrote articles for the local press, and met with local anti-Tsarists who he initially considered allies but soon developed a distaste for. He then lived in St. Petersburg, Warsaw, Vienna, and then Heidelberg. He attended lectures of German scholars such as Max Weber. It was at the University of Heidelberg where his thoughts of a convergence of Polish and German national interests were developed. He was active in the Union of Foreign Polish Socialists, but gradually views shifted from the socialist movement to nationalism. In 1901, he moved to Austrian Galicia, and the next year he became a leading ideologist in Roman Dmowski's national movement. He published a book, From Socialism to Nationalism, in 1904. Ultimately, the Russophobic Studnicki parted ways with the nationalist movement due to the Russophilism and became a leading Warsaw journalist opposing Dmowski's pro-Russian and anti-German policy. Studnicki had become a Germanophile. In 1910, Studnicki published The Polish Case. He called on the Polish nation to be mentally and militarily ready so that, in the anticipated European conflict, the Poles have a real power, capable of controlling the scale of events at the right moment. He proposed that the Austrian-Hungarian Empire could become the Austrian-Hungarian-Polish Empire, evolving a pan-Slavic concept called trialism that was actually supported by Franz Ferdinand. "We do not count on people's sympathies," wrote Studnicki. "We only know that the antagonist of our antagonist will be our ally. The main enemy is obvious and will not change anymore. Russia took Poland. Prussia and Austria have only its provinces." End quote. At the time of World War I, he was one of the most important pro-German politicians in Poland. He submitted a proposal that an independent Poland be created with Germany keeping the Prussian partition and an eastern border on the Dvina and Berzina rivers. This convinced the German governor of Warsaw and directly led to the Act of 5th November 1916, where the Kaiser and the Austrian-Hungarian Emperor promised an independent Poland. This forced the Tsar and the Western Allies to make a similar promise. Prince of Saxony even wanted to put him on the Polish throne. For this reason, Studnicki is considered one of the founders of the Second Polish Republic. 4 days after Pilsudski proclaimed an independent Poland, Studnicki turned 51 years old. In the interwar years, he was an active journalist, author of many books and press articles devoted to Polish-German cooperation. He advocated for better treatment of the German minority in Poland on the ground that it would improve the German-Polish relation. He argued prophetically that foreign policy directed against Germany would lead to a war that Poland would lose, and that Russia alone would emerge as a victor from a war of Central Europe versus Eastern Europe. In 1935, he published the book The Political System of Europe and Poland, in which he postulated the creation of a bloc of Central European states based on Poland and Germany. Alongside Germany and Poland, this bloc would include the Baltic states, Hungary, Romania, a smaller Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, then Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey, and finally also Italy and France. This bloc would give Germany a superpower, bringing it closer to economic self-sufficiency, open the way to expansion towards Asia Minor, provide a huge market for their industry, as well as food supply from the agricultural countries of the region. For small and medium-sized countries, blocking gave the opportunity to sell raw materials and products of their own agricultural on the absorbent German market, and at the same time, a chance for faster economic development based on German investments. Studnicki thought that the economic bonds were stronger than political bonds, and partly for this reason argued against the Polish-English alliance, as there wasn't much economic trading between Poland and England. He published The Czechoslovak Question in 1938. He supported the annexation of Slovakia by Hungary so that Poland could have a historic ally on its southern border. However, he criticized the annexation of Czechoslovakia by Germany in 1938 as a mistake, since this aggressive move antagonized the Poles against the Germans. Studnicki fervently argued against what he called the British trap. On April 13, 1939, he sent a letter to Minister Joseph Beck, in which he argued that ties with Great Britain would have disastrous consequences for Poland. The Anglo-Polish alliance was very dangerous for Poland, as London wanted to draw the Soviet Union into the war as an ally, which would be rewarded Eastern Polish territories. On May 5, 1939, Studnicki wrote Memo Against the War with Germany. He advocated that Poland should renounce its alliance with Britain and move the army east to the Soviet border. Gdansk, or Danzig, should be given to Germany in exchange for the creation of a Polish port in Latvia, and Poland should allow the construction of an extraterritorial highway and railway through the Polish corridor. In June 1939, he published View of Upcoming Second World War. The Polish government confiscated every copy the day the books were printed and denied its circulation on direct orders of the Prime Minister. Studnicki was in Radka when he heard the news that the German soldiers marched across the Polish border. He called it the saddest moment in his life. During the war, he faced the occupation with courage and patriotism. Protesting the reign of terror inflicted on Poland, he was punished with a year-long imprisonment in Pawiak prison, where he faced German brutality like many of his countrymen and women. He escaped so-called liberation in 1945 and fled to Britain, a broken heretic. Studnicki was clairvoyant in foreign policy. He made many accurate predictions. But were his solutions realistic? Could his ideas have worked? With the benefit of hindsight, would Beck have listened and avoided a dysgenic war that robbed Poland of its warriors, intellectual class, its best and brightest, its most capable sons? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section, and if you like this content, please subscribe and join me on Odyssey. This is Hot Polish Takes. Do widzenia.